I had this vision. I went to bed and then I was taken by an angel. He held my hand and we were sailing mid-air. But then I looked down and there was this massive crowd of people and they were just screaming and carrying on. And I asked the angel, what was happening? Why are they behaving this way? And he said that they were bound for hell. But the way they were behaving, that really moved me within. And I said, can I save them? He said, no, you can't save them. They're already bound for hell. I said, well, what about the others? Give me a chance, let me save the others. And he said to me, okay, I give you a chance. Go save the others.
So the Methodist Church in Ireland is part of a whole worldwide Methodist family. World Mission Partnership connects Irish Methodists with that family. We look for ways that we can support churches in other countries, and we also look for ways that those churches can support us here in Ireland. One of the best ways to do that is spending time together and learning from each other. This year we had the opportunity to visit our Methodist family in Guyana. It's in South America, right at the very top, part of the Caribbean and part of the Methodist Church in the Caribbean and Americas. One of the most remarkable things about the church here is that it operates in such a multi-ethnic, multi-religious context. Guyanese society is made up of all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds, different races, different languages, different beliefs, but they all come together in one national identity. And that assimilation, that integration, that unity is something that in Ireland, as our demographic continues to change, we'll want to find out more about.
I'm Castellin Kofia Niles. I'm a native of Guyana. I'm presently serving as the Bishop of the Guyana District. Guyana is referred to as the land of many waters. We are the only English-speaking country in South America. We gained our independence in 1966. But then the British was the last to occupy here, and they brought a lot of slaves. So we produced sugar and cotton and so forth. But after the abolition of slavery, they needed to replace the labor force. So there was indentured laborers who came from India. We had the Africans, the Europeans, of course, who would have brought the Africans, the indigenous people, the Amerindians, who everybody came and met here, and then all the others that came along. So we are like a melting pot rather than a salad bowl. 6 races, 1 people. So we are one people, one nation, one destiny. That's our national motto.
Guyana is a beautiful country, not just with the natural environment, but you see the different cultures coming through and the buildings, the houses, the variety of colors, the different even places of worship. You often find a church, a mosque, and a Hindu temple in relative close proximity. And you see all the different peoples just mingling together, getting on with life, friendship. Yeah, it's a beautifully diverse culture.
That diversity is one of Guyana's greatest assets, but it also presents a challenge for the church. How do you effectively share the good news about Jesus with people who come from a very different background or who believe something totally different to you? Methodists in Guyana have found that practical expressions of love and service are the best way to do that. These aren't just nice things to do, they are intended as a form of evangelism. A good example of that is a daycare in Berbice. This daycare is run by the Methodist Church, but it's available to the whole community. You don't have to be a Methodist to come here. The children come and they learn and they socialise and get that start in life, which is so important in early education. Most importantly though, it is a real expression of how God cares for the community and how the church expresses that with no strings attached. The daycare is even subsidised so that financially it's affordable for those who maybe don't have the most resources. It's a powerful example of how little gestures and little projects can make a big difference in people's lives.
It's a way of gradually introducing others to the church, because from time to time the children would have to do things in church as a group, and so the little ones will come and do poems or songs and so on. And you know, parents love to see their children perform, so they will come with their cameras and their phones, and so it's an introduction to the church. And also, as the church provides this service for them, you know, they're appreciative of, we're getting this, so this is a good place. And so little by little, they come to understand the church and the work the church is doing, and they support the church through that.
The daycare also gives a great opportunity for children to develop their hand-eye coordination, as Jordan found when he became the focus of some target practice.
Yes, I've never been great at catch, but I was definitely put on the spot when one of the kids was doing their best to fire missiles at me, little blocks. Yeah, great fun.
Another example of very practical outreach is the Shade House project, run by Pastor Isaacs.
The Shade House is a project that will actually be familiar to some in Ireland. We have something similar. It's actually something that World Mission Partnership have seen all over the world. So whether we're talking Knockbreda Methodist or Namibia Methodists, you will find similar projects where they're using land, often church land, to grow fruit and grow vegetables that can then be used to bless the community around them.
It was wonderful to see how they took the ground around the church. It wasn't just perfectly manicured garden or lawn, but they have taken it in order to serve the wider community, taken the ground, taking God's creation to produce something both beautiful but also beneficial. The Pastor Isaacs was well aware not just of the benefit that the food would be to feeding people, but also the pharmaceutical, often the ways that different herbs and vegetables could be used to help people with different ailments. And so truly a gift to the community. The church is making use of this.
In terms of being a good steward of God's environment, also it provides training opportunities for the younger children. So the children at the primary school can come and see how you can farm in your backyard. You can be able to produce something, right? So it provides for the community an opportunity to learn how, like, self-sustaining, how you can produce food for yourself. You don't always have to run to the market. So it serves the community in that way as well.
Perhaps the most striking example of practical outreach that we saw was in Capoey Lake. Capoey is the Methodist Church's outreach to the Amerindian population in a remote area where few homes have running water or mains electricity.
It has a long history of providing both practical and spiritual support to that community. Methodists didn't just come here with tracts and the word of Jesus. They came here to dig wells, to build schools, to assist with grants for agriculture projects, to build the community and empower that community, all at the same time witnessing to God's love for them. And that lies at the heart of everything the church does. The practical expressions are just practical expressions of a spiritual truth.
So today, most recently, we would have provided solar lighting for each of the families, each of the homes. It can also be used to charge your phone. Christ, the light of the world. In fact, when we give them the lamp, we said this is the Christ lamp. So it will not only light up your home, but Christ, we believe, will also light up your heart.
Yeah, Capoey, again, a beautiful place, stunning surroundings, but most beautiful through the people. They're the Amerindian people, and you could see and sense the great pride both in their heritage and who they are as followers of Jesus, as Methodists, and the desire to continue to serve their community. Their community is everything to them, and you could sense the passion and the commitment that they have to their young people, to all generations there, and that was a wonderful thing to witness.
Although Guyana is very different to Ireland, we were also struck by some of the similarities between our churches.
The church on the outside looks remarkably different. Whenever you visit a Guyanese Methodist building, you might not recognize it straight away. But whenever you step inside and you take part in the service, it starts to become an awful lot more familiar. The order of service, the kind of hymns, the structure, the theology, all of this is very much the Methodism that we in Ireland would be used to. Some of the challenges are the same too. After COVID, the difficulty in getting congregations to come back out again on a Sunday morning, it's real here too. The increasing burden on an ever smaller number of volunteers who carry the church and who the church relies on so much, again, very real here in Guyana.
There's the challenge of predominantly older congregations at times, which means that there's not as many volunteers, or you've got the core, which is doing increasingly all of the work and maybe getting tired, and it's time for them to be able to step aside. And then maybe a missing generation. Many times there's lacking the 20s and 30-year-olds, maybe even 40-year-olds, which also means then it is challenging to get that generation to bring their children out to church. And so how to get the young people in, the youth, how to keep them as they grow, that faith becomes a personal thing for them and they continue as members, valued members of the church.
We refer to the faithful few, those who avail themselves, and sometimes God knows they're overworked and they love God, they love the church, so they will say, Reverend, I will try. Bishop, I will try, because there is nobody else. But we thank God for them daily as they avail themselves. We are really trying to get persons back into in-person worship. So we do have those challenges of limited volunteers for some of the work. So we want to ensure that when people come to us, then children come to us, they are in a safe space, there is enough adequate adults supervision and so forth. So it's not just doing for doing sake, but to ensure when you come, you are safe, the lesson is effective, and you benefit from it.
Irish Methodists can certainly relate to some of these challenges. But after spending time with our church family in Guyana, my lasting impression isn't of the problems they face. It is of their passion for reaching out to the people around them. In everything they do, by all means possible, the church is committed to being God's witness. And I wonder how much of that approach might also be relevant to the church in Ireland, particularly the approach to ministry which they call friendship evangelism.
Friendship evangelism is used a lot, and it's a practical demonstration of one's faith. So you don't necessarily have to bombard people with the gospel. Believe in Jesus or you'll go to hell. But the way I live my life, my friend sees that. They see the difference. And so sometimes that in itself creates an inquiry for them. What is it that keeps you calm in the midst of all the chaos around you? And so it provides the opportunity for us to introduce them to Jesus, the one who stills the storm. It gives us the opportunity to help them to understand we are the way we are because of our relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. And so some may say, well, tell me a little more about this Jesus. And so that creates an opportunity to share. There's some who would say, I know you're a Christian, I'm going through this. Could you pray for me? Could you pray for my family? And seeing the results of those prayers, not only them, but also the family are introduced. And so little by little, because of living the life, the example you set, that in itself is a powerful witness. You would know the phrase, action speaks louder than words. So I don't necessarily have to shout on a mountaintop about who I am, but I live out my faith, embracing each other, just living out, loving God's creation. Doesn't matter what your ethnicity or your religious background may be. You're God's creation and we love you. And demonstrating that sometimes leads to conversion.
Yes, our culture in Ireland, while very different in some ways, not quite as multicultural or pluralistic, is changing rapidly. But rather than responding in fear here in Guyana, instead they see this as an opportunity to continue to share the love of Christ, not just through word, but through their actions, through their friendship evangelism. And this kind of hope and faith in action is something that I find quite inspiring, and I think we as believers and Methodists in Ireland can learn from and take lessons from as we seek to share the good news with those around us.
There's a lot for the Methodist Church in Ireland to learn from our brothers and sisters here in Guyana. Their response to a changing world is not one of fear and withdrawal and trying to hang on to the way things used to be or the way we want them to be, but instead they deal with the way things are. The community may change around them, society may move, but the Methodist Church remains committed to its evangelism and outreach to those around them. Whether that's in practical expressions of support, whether it's in preaching the good news. In all cases, in all means, this is God reaching out to the people of Guyana through the Methodist Church.